1. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in promotions, what kind of weird picks we'll get, and which of these teams is really going to impress here. It's Bitcoin up against MVP. Of course, that's a joke. BattleComics. First time I saw BTC, I'm like, hey, that's familiar.
As a Bitcoin enthusiast, how's that market going, Valdez?
Not good.
That's enough of an update for now.
Recent times have been very, very down.
Now, I want to point at a particular ban here. You see a Jax ban as first ban by MVP. On Fleek, the jungler for BattleComics, is actually a really big Jax jungle player. Ironically, Yondu also, one of the past Malrung, the first we had of Winners, and Winners is the team that BattleComics knocked out. The Urgot and the Scion banned away will draw an Aatrox response ban. So a lot of the normal top laners for the recent meta have actually seen attention in the ban phase. There's a lot open as well. Remember, guys, we're jumping forward to patch 8.17. The Nunu, the reworked Nunu, is not available. So sorry, Nunu and Willem, the double ban in that particular way.
And an interesting pick that they bring in here. One of Hollow's better champions, 6-2 on Varus, Xayah, and Ezreal. Probably going to be seeing more of Varus and Xayah on this kind of patch, but Varus did get a slight nerf. But let's take a look at the picks here on the side of MVP. Camille already being picked alongside Kai'Sa real quick.
It is a very early priority on the Kai'Sa. Looking at Hollow in Challengers, Varus, Ezreal, Xayah was his playground. The 50 HP nerf does make the laning phase a little bit less reliable. For the Varus, Camille, a flex pick, ADD, and Yondu can both play it. Looks like BattleComics are going to continue with On-Fleek's style. He does like the early skirmishing on the junglers. Again, the Jax being his main lets you know that he's going to be preferring skirmishing. He's going to go for the Olaf, which he was playing in those promotion matches as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the Camille for ADD and Yondu, but also On-Fleek, like, going to play his own set of Camille. He's 3-0 on the Camille, so a bit of a flex pick as well as a takeaway. Interesting
to still see the Tahm Kench priority. First Korean Tahm Kench post 8.15 means that those Devour nerfs are there. In some ways, the champion hasn't changed too much because you weren't usually going through 2 rounds of Devour in an early to mid-game team fight, and also does give a bit of counterplay, but still going to see Varus, Tahm Kench, definitely a lane we know and understand. And it seems like Kai'Sa Braum, the very standard answer, whether it was 8.15 or 8.17.
Yeah. We all know that Max would love to play his Brand, his Thresh, his, you know, anything else, but he's going to be jumping on to Old Faithful on the Braum. It's pretty good into the Tahm Kench. Even if he does get a Devour, you can get that pretty fast stun off the concussive blows. But we're going to take a look at some of the bans here afterwards. Akali going to be banned up.
One of the notable changes for BattleComics in terms of priority from their promotion matches, from winning that tournament over Winners, is their Ryze priority. It's not going to be a first-round Ryze pick. BattleComics were basically first picking on red and blue side very, very frequently if they couldn't get Dove onto the Aatrox. So very notable there. Korean casters actually call Dove Dove, but it seems to be a translation issue with the soap that a lot of people will know. Dove soap, very famous, but it's actually, I think, pronounced more like Dove in the Korean translation.
Yeah.
Confusing, but that's just one of those idiosyncrasies from moving between a Western country and Korea.
You guys can call him whatever you like. We didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I'm sure he would say Dobu, and that doesn't really help us out.
But then he would say, like the soap, and we would say, but yeah, that's Dove.
The soap is Dove, so we're going to call you Dove. And okay, the Gallia's going to get banned out here, alongside the Ryze you were talking about, so no Ryze is going to be picked up by BattleComics.
So do we see a mid laner here to keep the Camille flex? The answer is no. They're not interested in flexing. It's going to be ADD top onto the Camille, and Pilot going to be jumping onto the Trundle after all. This is definitely not a win rate pick for him. 0-6 in the summer season was Yondu on this particular Trundle. So it hasn't been a big pick for MVP, that's for sure. BattleComics going over to their side. They've got a very standard draft so far, but they've given up things like Ryze. The Akali and the Aatrox have been standard for them, and they're actually returning to an oldie, but not necessarily a goodie recently, and actually jumping on the Mundo hype train on 8.17.
I was watching some of the matches. They had some success with the Mundo from behind. They were able to survive for a long time against Damwon Gaming, and even though that was kind of Damwon Gaming playing their B squad, they were still able to win with that Moon. They played it from time to time. They're also thinking about Azir here. That's going to be the pickup for Dove in the mid lane.
Azir priority is interesting. Last Azir we saw was over in the EU LCS, and that final qualifier was played by Nuke Duck. That was Electrocute Ignite Azir. I don't think we're going to be seeing that here. That seemed a little bit too crazy. Zoe has been nerfed again since the last time we saw her, so the latest round of nerfs are there. Could still be considered. It's a power draft from MVP when you think about the composition, a pick comp coming on their side with Camille, Braum, and Zoe. I think the Camille blind pick is pretty bold, but I think ADD's feeling this. Of course, been right up there in terms of challenger for the longest time now. 3-4 months in the top 20, in the top 2 entrenched with Hide on Bush, with Faker for a long time. I think he's looking to flex, and this is definitely an outscale matchup for the Mundo, but if you play aggressively and if Yondu shows up, there's good value in that Trundle ultimate post 6 and pre 6. There's good burst damage to take the Mundo down and take him down a peg.
You guys will notice that MVP with side selection did go on to the red side, so we'll see that how that does affect the jungle matchup and the way that ADD Ian want to play. They're going to have that very passive kind of farming up bottom lane alongside of it with the Kai'Sa. Braum's going to sit there. It's not going to be too interesting. I want to see this mid matchup of Azir versus Zoe. Zoe with the recent nerfs, but also just Dove versus Ian, right? Dove going up against an LCK level, LCK tier mid laner, and Ian, who is quite a good player.
I'm personally most excited about Unflick. I think his path thing can be inventive. He's a very good snowball jungler. I'm worried about the top side. I'm worried about the priority in some of these lanes. I feel like if MVP gets going, this is the sort of draft that kills you 20 to 30 and doesn't allow the game to extend.
Definitely a scary thought for BattleComics, who were chosen here by MVP. Didn't want to go up against Damwon Gaming.
Understandable.
That makes a lot of sense. You don't want to go up against the team that's 13-1. You'd rather pick the team that's 8-6. Just barely made it through. So MVP, they also have a message to show to everybody. They want to say, we are an LCK level team. We're not going to lose to a team like BattleComics. And in order to make that statement in my mind, I would need to see a pretty swift 2-0 over BattleComics. Let's see if MVP can actually deliver that to me tonight.
MVP have always seemed a cut above Challenger ever since they got into the LCK. It feels like the battle lines are real between MVP and BattleComics, but until we see it, we only can go with our thoughts. It feels like the winner's match is already going to be there. It's going to be MVP down 1, but we'll get a confirmation with MVP, or at least an idea in game number 1.
Yeah, gotta have the games actually play themselves out first. And guys, the countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 1 of MVP up against BattleComics. Okay.
We've been here before. Of course, the BattleComics fans are going to be less in number. They're coming over from the Africa TV Challengers Arena, where it's just a bit different to the big arena here. So I guess we're going to have to give it a bit of beta testing for the calls. We'll see if Damwon Gaming have a bit more voice in our second series.
I just love Sung K's reaction to that. Was exactly the way I was feeling. He was like, alrighty then.
Yep.
Anyway, let's jump into the game. BattleComics, hey, if they show up today and they do well, I'm sure they're going to have a cheer for the next time they show up.
Just notice it's the new Braum skin actually being worn here by Max. New duds for some of these champions, and the pool party Zoe once again being played in mid. Feels like whatever we do, we can't get rid of Zoe and Tom Kench, forever champions, as ADD's looking for the cheese level 1 gank.
Okay, this is not something we've seen very often, but how about a free cleanse and flash? Now, ADD is going to have to go up to the top lane, but again, it's Camille. That's such a great way to start off the lane.
You can definitely not expect that one, but it happens once or twice a season just because of the acquisition range there around mid lane. You have that wall that extends and guarantees the register with no flash, so feels really good for Ian. It can be a tricky matchup into Electrocute Azir, but the Azir didn't go Ignite like Nuke Duck. It now has no flash and no cleanse, and lane control perhaps in 3 lanes for MVP if Yondu gets on the map very shortly.
And you got to know that Dove, yeah, he might have a lot of experience here in Challenger, but you go into the 1 week, these couple of days where you have to prove yourself, and it means LCK or back in a Challengers, basically. You got to know he's feeling a little bit nervous. I love the idea of ADD to just get in his face right from the get-go and say, hey, you want to roll with the big boys? You got to deal with my level 1 Camille gank. Here I am.
Cheesing the rookie teams has always been something that teams will do just to put them in their place, like you're alluding to, Valdez. So I'm also smiling about that one. The level 2 jungle gank, I bet he was ready for that, but the level 1 top roam, that's where it's a bridge too far for Dove.
I mean, that's a thing that's pretty common here in Korea, not even in only League of Legends, right? That used to happen in StarCraft, StarCraft 2 as well. There's a new guy that comes on in, and
Rush
you're
him?
like, well, I'm going to go for the proxy. I'm going to go for the cheese. And I don't respect this guy yet. If he can hold off a very basic aggressive strategy, then I'll begin to respect him.
Do you remember any notable times where a player tried that and then they were put in their place in kind of a memorable way? Like, was anyone's career made off of repelling some sort of cheesy rookie versus veteran play? I'm sure it happened at some point, especially in Brood War days.
It probably happened at some point. I'm not sure about the Brood War. I know
It seems whenever I see it, it's pretty effective.
In StarCraft 2, it used to be that it would be done to all the foreigners that tried to come to Korea, because the Koreans would just be like, well, I mean, there's such a huge gap. Like, you guys don't even know about the gap in StarCraft and StarCraft 2. It's even bigger in those games, and
turns out
well,
we're going to have some non-Korean teams coming to Korea to play some League of Legends before too long.
You know, that could happen. I don't know if we're going to be seeing level 1 Camille ganks, but, you know.
You say that, Valdez, but actually one of my biggest things that I picked up in my preparation for Worlds last year was watching you and Crumbs cast the Nasus versus Maokai game. I think Kongdu Monster was playing in that one. In this particular tournament last year, I wasn't here to cast it for Spo TV, and then we ended up having the Dancing Rift Herald game for Longzhu versus Fnatic, and World's Group Stage last year with the same matchup, the Nasus just outscaling and farming up against the Maokai.
So that's definitely something to take away, guys. Who knows what weird shenanigans and strategies these teams will try to pull off in promotions, and what can be learned to bring into Worlds that is just around the corner.
Well, now we're not 4 patches away from Worlds, we're 2 patches away on 8/17s. There's always that chance that something new or something a little bit left of center will be debuted in this tournament, then parlayed forward for something like Worlds.
Seems like the top lane is going just fine for ADD after getting there slightly late. Probably only missed one.
Yondu spotted on a ward. He won't know that he's seen, but
yeah.
Why did he do that, Hollow?
Okay.
Why?
He's going to get in a bad spot here. The concussive blows are going to go down, forces Joker to flash away. Nice little amount of damage here. Max, all of a sudden, he's like, uh-oh. Got to throw out my shield. Forgot about that damage.
Well, that was actually a pretty big mistake from Hollow, just because literally they saw the Trundle on a ward and decided to walk up and ward it anyway.
Yeah.
Max was surprised by damage, for sure. I was surprised by the new particles on the Q there from the Braum skin. First time seeing it. I have to remember that one. It's annoying because it's a 4-hit passive for both the Kai'Sa and the Braum. I guess Kai'Sa's technically a 5-hit passive, but regardless, seems like Electrocute is the new way forward for the Azir. As a standard rune, Summoner Airy has been nerfed, of course, on this patch. A lot of the burst runes were taken down on 8/16, which we never played on over in Korea. So
yeah.
Celerity for Hecarim and Jhin. Things like the Scorch and also Summoner Airy, sudden impact on basically every gap close champion. So a lot of nerfs to some of the early damage coming through from these laners and the junglers.
You're mentioning you were excited to see On Fleek and what he can do from the jungle, his jungle pathing. So far, he has just been, I mean, he's one scuttle ahead, and Yondu was able to go for the effective gank in the bottom side. But outside of that, he's just been farming up. He's about a camp ahead of Yondu so far.
It's actually pretty greedy with the farm. He didn't go back for just boots and the talisman. He actually finished the jungle item. So yeah. I think he went for a full clear after his mid laner was GG for like the first 5 minutes, losing 2 summoners. There was very few places he could go. You go top lane and then ADD and Yondu on literally the 2 best champions for turning around a poor gank, right? If you have vision advantage and then Camille and Trundle see you coming, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So they don't want to go there. Bot lane didn't open up, so just went for the power farm. And waiting for a better spot. He's actually level 6 already before his first gank.
Yeah, waiting on that. There was a lot of vision around the mid lane by MVP. There were actually 2 control wards, and OnFleek just cleared both of them. So he's even going to come in here and have really nice timing on the blue, as Yondu did go back in the red side jungle. Pings are down here, but there's 4 members of BattleComics that are going to secure this blue buff for Dove in the mid lane.
For people wondering, what do we expect from BattleComics? They said they're 8-6. They said they were kind of the unlikely second-place team. So what are their strengths? Where are they strong? I don't know any of these players. All of that is very reasonable. The thing that I observed, I really focused on their matches in the promotion tournament because they were up and down. Their only notable thing from the regular season is they were actually the one in the 13-1 scoreline from Dumb One Gaming. They dropped 1 series, which was a 2-0 to BattleComics. BattleComics finished 4th overall. You mentioned that already, Valdez. Again, not the most remarkable regular season team. Also, that win felt like it had a lot of asterisks because Dumb One Gaming were basically already guaranteed to be first and missed the Challengers Finals by then. And also, they were running a B roster for some of it. Things I took away from the Challengers playoffs matches is some really good teleport plays from Soar. He's not on Orin this time, but if he does move over to more of a teleport tank, that'll be pretty big. And just solid front-to-back team fighting, you know, focusing on the frontline tank and then fighting from there. They definitely have a front-to-back team fight comp where Mundo goes into the back line and then Azir and Varus just try to kill the closest target.
Playing to their strengths, playing to comfort is always something we see out of newer teams, and teams trying to find some success with what they've gotten before. So it's always good to hear that they have gotten a comp just like that. But MVP generally like to throw caution to the wind and can get aggressive at times. I mentioned how their bot lane is pretty passive, has been so far, but still waiting for ADD, Ian, and Yondu to get some stuff going on the top side of the map.
The heartening part for me about MVP this game, though, is if ever in any meta you ask me what sort of a comp can MVP play, the answer would always be pick comp, and this is a pick comp. They have great pick CC. They're very strong at using that if they get a good start, and it's definitely been just a standard farming phase. Small gold lead here to BattleComics purely from the lane farm. A Drake would be a nice way to start because this, of course, corrals BattleComics, and then the pick CC can begin.
Joker trying to go for the steal here. He doesn't have his flash, and that's going to be a big mistake here. First blood given on over to Pilot as he just got caught out trying to steal the Drake.
He played as if he had had an unsealed spellbook cleanse, but he had heal at the time. No flash, as you mentioned, Valdez. Oldest player to see play in Korean Pro Play this year, older than Score from a 1991 birthday at 26 years of age. Plenty of competitive games, but mostly in Challenger. No top flight competitive games. That's just a straight up mistake, especially against a pick comp. You cannot look to walk up like that.
Running into a Trundle, you have to know that if he started it, he's going to have Smite. So it's not really something you should consider as a possibility just to go from the start. I feel like there have been 2 kind of quote-unquote challenger mistakes. The one was Hollow walking up to try to ward after he saw the Trundle earlier on the gank, and then Joker trying to go for that steal. We'll see if BattleComics can change that up and do a little bit better. They're trying to get on top of Pilot here, but Max is right there to help his buddy out.
Again, we're not expecting anything remarkable from BattleComics in the laning phase, apart from OnFleek making plays, and then again, just solid team fighting. Talking to LCK pros, they don't have high hopes for BattleComics in this tournament, but they can find a way to 50-50. If Mundo gets to 2.5 items and runs at Zoe, that's an area where BattleComics have shown aptitude in and have also drafted for a supremely strong 5v5. If MVP gets a pick, there's never going to be a 5v5. But we're going to be looking at MVP 1 item onwards to actually control this game. For now, just in the farming phase for MVP.
BattleComics actually, strangely, was ahead for just a moment after taking that Rift Herald, but Soar looks like he could be in some trouble. Yondu totally unscouted here, but nice timing actually by Soar.
ADD missed the wall.
Yeah, he, well, speaking of challenger mistakes, hope I don't have to say that for MVP in 2019. But, yeah, ADD, you get 1. I mean, that could have been a kill, right? It is a Mundo with only level 1 ultimate, so
yeah, you lose more damage. You lose more life when you ult at level 1 more often than not. And this is a nice, quick reaction. Camille checking out top side. Unfortunately, no charge just yet. Got distracted by the minions, but this could just be Zoe's turret going down. And this leash of life for MVP, these picks got to start soon.
Uh-oh, Pilot running straight into the Olaf. This is so unfortunate. Has to flash away. On Fleek in a perfectly fine position. The turret hasn't gone down yet, but Dove coming on over. Can he finish it off?
Right, the answer is going to be no. One more hit. A speck of damage onto the turret, and it will go down. OnFleek was an inspired position there. He knew that Pilot wanted to sweep in with the Killer Instinct after an engage, keep the turret up. Moment he was in Killer Instinct range, he was in Reckless Swing range. And they lose the turret, and BattleComics are taking over the map. And we've already mentioned their 5v5 matches up very well to MVP.
Yeah, maybe their laning isn't fantastic, but they get a couple of good things. You know, the gank on the top side failing. They were able to take the Rift Herald with nobody on it, no vision. And now the game is all of a sudden going very heavily in the side of BattleComics. They are able to rotate down to the bottom side after Pilot had to back after being chunked out, nearly getting the bottom side turret at the same time. Already have over a 1,000 gold lead here in game one.
And also consider that you look at the variables we can see. Teleport, the Rageblade first, the Doran Ring. It does look like AP Kai'Sa, which is delaying a power spike further. Is that inviting some of the champions on BattleComics to get too much farm before MVP's even ready to use their pick comp? A worrying thought as Hollow quickly realizes there's a chance he might be turret dive, but the turret's so healthy that we're not actually going to see the Trundle zone him away just yet.
Yeah, Yondu just gave up on the dive, but he's still around, actually hanging out in this bottom side brush. I suppose a decent read that OnFleek is there, but either way, just waiting for the lane to push up and to go for the gank. Both Joker and Hollow do have their flashes. Yondu is spending a lot of time down here, and OnFleek is in position as well.
Really impressed with OnFleek so far this game in terms of when he's been around. Power farm to 6, so what, 6 minutes 30 at a very fast level 6 from the jungle. And then made the most influential move of the game so far in catching Pilot in rotation. MVP are now going to be getting the calls of just wait on this Nationals tooth, maybe the stopwatch on top of that, and then Kai'Sa can carry. And there's a real chance of that. Speaking of carries, Joker.
Ooh, not able to get that stun. Good chains of corruptions to just lock them down. Make sure that nobody could follow up there, but they do get the flash and heal out of Joker.
Let's watch this game develop. Worrying times here from MVP. They need to find control wards and start utilizing things like what Sun be a one-item Zoe and the Camille Trinity Force. One items still aren't there, but the one items are there for BattleComics. Not where MVP wanted to be, but as the LCK team, we have to imagine their mid-game shot calling will be better than that of BattleComics.
Would have to imagine. I would agree with you, but we have seen teams in the LCK that survive just purely on 1 or 2 players carrying pretty hard. And you mentioned OnFleek before the matches. I was impressed also by Dove. I thought he was a pretty solid mid laner based on what I had seen. If these couple of guys are able to carry BattleComics in just a lane and in general just outplaying some of the members of MVP, who knows? BattleComics could be moving on to the winner's match.
Dove spent the entire time playing pretty well on Aatrox in the Challengers Finals. It's really impressive. Got a solo kill on Aatrox in the Rise matchup, which you never expect. Just purely at level 4. Got a solo kill. Was very impressive. So he has looked good. He's 2-0 in Challenger, but usually that step up is severe. Griffin answered some of that criticism, but we had 2 seasons of CJ being the big boss and not actually making it to LCK, and then the one data point of Griffin that felt a bit like that Magic singular team. Damwon, we know the reputation of BattleComics, a developing reputation. And MVP, this strongest team of the LCK duo, right now seem a little bit all over the place.
It's definitely the way to put it. MVP maybe just taking them a little bit too lightly. As you mentioned before, Damwon Gaming is the big name from Challengers. Everybody's talking about them. Nobody's really talking about Team BattleComics here, but looking to make a name for themselves in the first matchup. A couple of nervous mistakes aside, the game has been going pretty well for them.
Getting to the moment where MVP need control wards because they have their 2 items. Trinity Force Ludens is huge power upgrades for ADD and Ian. And your read here is that with the Infernal spawning, put down 3 control wards, get a pick because your comp is set up for that. and then steady yourself into the mid game that usually comes around 20 to 25 minutes. That's where MVP can start to right the ship that is surprisingly swerving a little bit away from them. OnFleek, as we mentioned, was power farming when Yondu was ganking. The most important gank of this game was done by ADD at level 1, and Yondu's time hasn't found too many advantages.
OnFleek getting on in there is going to land that axe. Yondu slowed for days, but the trouble bubble over the wall. OnFleek, though, continuing to go in. There's the chain of corruption, and he's bursted down. Nice little catch on Yondu. He doesn't flash. He doesn't respect the damage, and he gets caught out.
And he's 2 levels under. Because of the power farming we mentioned, it's a 2-level lead for OnFleek over the Trundle. Item lead is there. It's a 30 CS lead, which represents, what, 7 camps and a bit? So already, we know this is an outscale matchup for Mundo. So a lot of Mundos winning the matchup as time goes on. Feels like those timers for MVP are getting more and more concerning. I see your eyes dilate pretty widely. Are we going to see an upset in game number 1? Because OnFleek rolls in and Yondu thinks he's much tankier than he is.
I mean, even when you see the Varus, at that moment, you need to flash. You need to say, okay, I'm out of this one, you got me, right? They have never-ending slows with the Tahm Kench and the Olaf. And look at this, Dove, even with the rotation up the top side, he's a level ahead. They're going to get their 3rd turret before any of the BattleComics turrets have taken any significant damage at all.
And Dove is 4 levels ahead of Yondu, who's a glorified Trundle Pillar. He's the same level as Max. He's got nothing doing. They're continuing to get into the jungle here and take away all of his camps. This is ending up to be a disaster in terms of the jungle here for Yondu. Feels that 0-6 Trundle is not the tonic for a Game 1 victory.
I just saw Diamond Gaming walk in. They actually sitting in the crowd looking to watch these games, and well, wonder if they'll be impressed based off of this. I mean, they did lose that one time to BattleComics, but probably not what they're expecting here for Game 1.
It's not like BattleComics came in super strong at the end of the regular season of Challenger. Again, they won that game over Damwon, but they were up and down around that. It was definitely a surprise for the 4th place team. If you guys aren't sure how Challengers works, Damwon Gaming won the regular season, so they were literally in this tournament. They didn't play Challengers playoffs, and it's a playoff between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. BattleComics came in at 4th, and a comfortable 4th, 8-6 overall. And thus it was a surprise for them to make it here. But it is a surprise to see them continue to level up as they did through those playoffs.
I think it deserves to be said as well that MVP is kind of disappointing in my mind for game number 1. We were expecting them to be maybe even ahead of Damwon out of the 4 teams, but then you take a look at this game, and again, it's only game 1 and 1 best of 3, but I was expecting them. My expectations have not been certainly met here by MVP.
I guess at this point, you got to consider 8-match best of 3 losing streak for MVP at the end of the season with the asterisk again of ADD's collapsed lung and health problems, meaning that they really did have a very unfortunate roll of the dice. 8 matches is 8 matches, and they've maybe forgotten how to win on stage. Feels like a weird thing to bring up. We like their draft. It seemed like they were just going to roll through. This is very much a come at me, bro kind of draft where you can flex on people. The flexing seems to be done by BattleComics, and now if MVP don't get going soon, they may never.
It's definitely a scary thought. We saw what the Azir can do from ahead when, I believe it was Faker was playing it in that SKT versus Genji matchup. And it's scary. I mean, generally it's a very strong late game champion, but how about if you have a death cap, a Nashor's Tooth, at 21 minutes into the game? Because we're getting close to that here for Dove.
If he does his best Yukal impression, that would be pretty good as well. Yukal and BDD playing some good Azir games at the end of the season. Not many people touching it in the run that came from the playoffs, but in the Galio matchup, seeing it once in a while. Seeing BattleComics have a big lead here in terms of tempo. They're pushing up. They're denying the pick comp from being able to even set up for a pick. And this Baron, if Azir and Varus start on it, it dies real fast.
Yeah. Disappears off the map. I think BattleComics are going to take a little bit slower. They have some nice scaling. They might as well take an Infernal Drake as well. MVP, though, angling up towards the top side of the river. Looks like BattleComics were following just a bit. Nice Devour here by Joker. Again, this is the nerfed Tom Kench, so that Devour cooldown is going to be longer at every single level, so got to be careful about that.
Free Infernal. It's going to be a ward or two cleared out on the top side by ADD around the pit. They break away from here, and yeah, all MVP can get in trade for an Infernal is some control wards being taken down. I'm gonna set up this Baron pit. If they can get BattleComics come to them, there's a hope and a dream for a pick, but they're gonna take a lot of damage. They don't have a true tank on this Baron.
ADD already down to about half health. Soar is relatively tanky. This is the MVP we all know and love, just starting up the Baron and hoping things go well. Did not go well for them there as they had to back off. At least nobody died, but now BattleComics with that inside route into the mid lane, looking to take more of this map for themselves.
And MVP had to turn off the Baron quickly because Trundle's not tanky enough to tank it. Camille is a carry, and this was very much just a prank because they had to fully disengage top side, couldn't reset around the mid lane. Now it's a very strong mid lane, and of course the 3 turret lead here while the Sand turret is up in the mid lane. Means they have 2 turrets down. MVP have 3 turrets, to face in the mid lane. So a lot of advantages there. Very short mid lane. The side of MVP, this lead, it's a consistent one. It's usually what we see with the shoe on the other foot. And MVP are fighting just to get control wards cleared, which lets you know that if they let this drop for even a moment, they're deathly afraid of the now finished Death Cap and the superpower souped up Blade the Ruin King Rageblade duo of deleting the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, you got that duo of damage. You also have everybody's, what do they call it, the potato in the top lane, Mundo. You know, he's not fantastic early on. He could have been dove multiple times by the Camille Trundle duo. They failed to do that due to mechanics and also just not able to path up into the top side. He's going to be super tanky, and we know what he can do up against a champion like Zoe, especially when the Zoe does get behind. So definitely worrying stuff here for MVP.
I mean, it's even more worrying stuff. A 13 CS lead for Mundo, a 50 CS lead for Azir in the Zoe matchup. Zoe was seen as a hard counter to Azir at different power levels earlier in the year. So it's at best a competitive matchup. This is a flow-on effect from the Trundle having no impact. So this is a worrying bit of visual lag here. This is a long visual lag. Is this the one where the Tom Kench walks through again?
I hope not, but... Okay,
hey,
he's back.
Welcome back.
That was scary. I was sweating a little bit, Papa Smithy. Not sure if we're 100% ready to go. He's not CSing.
Producer, could we see a call from the Tom Kench perspective to see if Joker did an effort?
You know, I'm surprised I didn't get paused a little bit earlier. Ian did miss 3 CS.
It sounds like we did get a pause, as you can very clearly see, and we're looking to diagnose this non-Spo TV visual lag issue, it appears like. Seems like an actual lag. Sorry, guys. Going to be a little bit of a break here as the players, and Pilot in particular, has had some really good individual moments this season. Looks a bit annoyed. Understandable,
yeah.
I think.
He's thinking, where does my 2019 lie? Where is it going to be? Is it going to be in Challenger? Or is it going to be on a different team? You know, wins his contract up. Who knows? I mean, Pilot has been that one guy that has been impressing on the side of MVP even through all their losses.
Getting that update that it seems to once again be grouped in with the issue we had in the SKT versus Genji match, which was another extended lag issue. So hopefully that can be looked at. Maybe we'll need a chrono break or something. Don't want to talk about it too much till we get more information. Coming back to your point about Pilot and contract status, of course, that long off season starts in 4 days for everyone who's not at Worlds, and I imagine it's going to be a lot of auditioning for different opportunities next year. So it's a lot to think about that. I think there's real talent on MVP and BBQ if either of them are relegated. Someone like Yondu may, again, not have had a huge bumper year, but you always look at teams like this, and there's at least a handful of players that you think are miscast. You think, man, if they were just in this other team, how strong could they be? The same way about Ignar and Trick and some of the other players, like Tempt especially, onto the side of BBQ. When we get to our second series, Tempt himself, who we showed a lot of respect all season, is right up there in terms of challenger solo queue.
On fleek. Very cool, calm, and collected. He drank that orange juice like it was a fine whiskey. held it up to his lips for about 10 seconds. I was counting, and then he slowly put the cap back on. Just a nod of appreciation. He's like, yeah, that was good. Put it down, and I wonder when he's going to finish that orange juice.
Well, I think a lot of people are watching his early game here and being like, maybe we need an on-fleek in our team, BattleComics or no.
And a name change, perhaps.
Yeah, on-fleek's a bit awkward. Don't really know what to make of it. I know what the word on means. I don't really know what the word fleek means.
It's probably along the lines of you're, like, really cool, something like that.
On point?
You're on fleek, you're on point.
I don't see how you possibly went in that direction.
I'm just guessing, right? I'm an old fogey here in the League of Legends world.
Ah, yes, the old fogey.
With all of our 12-year-old viewers that we have in the Twitch chat.
12 or older, SpoTV does stipulate that. OGN was 15. It's the connoisseurs market. But they're gone now.
Most of them are 12, though. 12 to 15, no doubt. But yeah, a name change would be nice for On Fleek. Maybe if he does join a new team. Hey, if they make it into LCK, we could see a nice little name change. I wouldn't mind that.
Well, we saw something yesterday. We rolled over to Jongak, a different area of Korea. If you guys aren't aware, Sangam is where the OGN Stadium is. Gangnam, which you guys know from Gangnam Style, is where we are today. The Riot Stadium's over near City Hall area, near Jongak, which is a very nice area of Seoul. Walked around there, and we got to see the LOL Park, which I'm not ready to say out loud just yet, as you can tell. Not a big fan of the name, but the Sangam East Stadium also wasn't a name I was too big a fan of. I'm a big fan of the arena and the facilities there. It was actually a really cool look at something that was just oozing League of Legends in kind of every way. It was really purpose-built for LCK next year.
Yeah, I really loved it as well. Definitely felt like a step up. You know what I mean? Like,
it just seemed very purpose-built, you know?
Yeah.
The Sangami Stadium, the Nexon Arena, used for multiple games. They can facilitate a lot of different changes, but especially around even just the area you might see the most pictures of, the stadium, there's just a lot of cool stuff that really has in mind the big squads, the needs of professional teams. It was really cool.
Good timing there, Papa Smithy. We're right back into the game. We'll see if this lasts or if we have another pause.
No chrono break necessary as far as we can tell, so back into the game. We mentioned how Pilot went for the later scaling build, going for AP Kai'Sa, probably a Banshee Veil, but could be Azonia's also from the Fiendish Codex. The Fiendish Codex is there, so you take the wrong fight. Whatever happened in the first 25 minutes, and maybe the pointy end of the Kai'Sa is there to punish you.
Pilot has done his share of carrying. His head-on CS has the 1 kill. He is quite farmed with like 5 or so extra minutes, maybe 5 to 10, before he really begins to pop off. He's got double buff right now, and he's 2 levels above Yondu, so he's feeling pretty happy about that.
Still, we cannot disconnect the fact that BattleComics have been way on top of this game for the first 25 minutes. You can tell from their control wars, they know the last piece of the puzzle is the Baron, and they have insane Baron damage. Their turn isn't insane. They don't have an Ornn to launch an Ornn Horn, so we all know that Baron damage, secure, and the ability to turn are the kind of 3 things you think about with a Baron team. They've mostly got the speed, and the speed is the sort of thing that a random smite, if your setup isn't perfect, can undo. So for now, at least, BattleComics aren't being too quick to actually start off the Purple Worm.
On Fleeker going for that more aggressive build. No big tanky item, no Zeeks, no Knight's Vow. There's a couple items you might see if Ambition's on the champion, but this is On Fleek, and he wants to go On Fleek, whatever that means. Still figuring it out, and did pick up that Black Cleaver.
Red side, firing skill shots, blue trinkets, and wards into the Baron pit is our gameplay pattern until the Purple Worm goes down. I think anything else would actually be a really big surprise. I guess there could be a piggyback gank. Notice that Pilot has the teleport. AP Kai'Sa usually takes this. You could run next to the Camille and try to take down Mundo, but maybe you look at Sunfire Cape, Spirit Visage, and a Bramble Vest and think you can't kill him.
Joker here just doing his best to ward up. We didn't talk too much about Joker other than the fact that he is also an old fogey. He's 6-0 on the Tom Kench for the entirety of the Summer Challengers Korea, so he does have actually impressive records on 3 different champs: Shen, Tom Kench, and Morgana.
Last one is the important one. Every support I talked to, when I asked about Joker, again, talked about his long stature, the long amount of time he's played competitive League of Legends, but focused on his Morgana. Sort of guy that can bend those bindings around a creep. So hopefully at some point in this tournament we get to see his famous Morgana.
And Tom Kench, even though it did get nerfed a little bit, is still a very high tier pick for the support role. And so was picked up in the first round by the side of BattleComics.
Just noticed that even without getting a kill, we saw the Azir at 2.4 attack speed after stacking up with the Rage Blade. So don't know about backline threat onto him. ADD, the Camille, the only real diver we have on the side of MVP. In fact, the second diver might be Pilot, which is not ready to go just yet. He went Zhonya's, which does suggest maybe a Messiah-esque dive into the backline. BattleComics have gotten lucky. They haven't found a way to get Baron, but double Inferno is the best RNG you could hope for from the Drakes when you're not confident in your Baron setup.
I mean, you're sitting back on now level 16 Mundo and Azir. Hollow's a little bit behind on level 14, but they are scaling up so much. You're picking up free Infernal Drakes, nothing that MVP can do. Here's the Tom Kench going in, kind of Rambo by himself. Interesting play there from Joker, who seems to have a bit of nerves so far in game number 1, but the rest of his team doing pretty well.
Oh boy, Hollow takes a big burst as the flat pen is already there coming in from Ian, who's slowly cribbed together items. You would expect that. There's only been 2 kills in the game. Joker and the side of BattleComics seem a bit rushed when they actually have a great scaling comp here. And that's the sort of thing MVP can punish as this LCK team.
We've definitely seen this before in promotions too, where a challenger team will come in and they get ahead in game 1 and we're like, oh, what the hell? These guys are actually amazing. And then this happens. Like, it falls apart somewhere along the line. People start getting caught. MVP, they have decent Baron damage. They just go for it. ADD finally gets a turret. And it looks like Tom Kench died.
BattleComics are falling apart with bad back timings. The Baron's falling low. OnFleet could pop his ultimate. He has no information here, so he doesn't know when to rush in, and the Baron goes against the run of play, and maybe some kills.
Well, ADD's gonna find the Olaf here, has his own little stopwatch, but Dove does a lot of damage by himself, and Soar is just not dying. BattleComics trying to go 4v5, and then it looks like they can.
They need more kills, though. They want to get as many Baron buffs off as possible.
Gonna get the slow here on a Max, and that Azir has some really nice mobility. Camille a little bit better. Nice pillar there, but the flash forward aggressive here from Dove. Looking for that kill, the axe in the face, and one more will do it. Dove, though, is gonna go down nearly so close. 10 health on the backside by Ian, and Hollow all by himself is in the mid lane.
Yeah, on the minimap, we could see him pushing through. This is actually a really big play for BattleComics in spite of how the game was going. They get the turret, no greed for it. BattleComics have done so much. They've done 80% to win, but in the 20%, they've made some mistakes. Joker is looking like rookie tendencies despite whatever his chronological age is. MVP go over to the Baron. There's no vision in the pit, so no way for OnFleek to get in there and contest. Thought maybe this was going to be the entire game undone for BattleComics. As you say, a pretty standard challenger move, but they get in there. Nice play from Dove, even on the Azir, away from the Aatrox and Ryze. 3 kills in a mid lane inhibitor. It doesn't make up for losing Baron, but it definitely softens the blow.
BattleComics trying to make up for their mistakes with some impressive Azir plays. Also a Mundo that does not die. We can see what happens when that Camille jumps into the backline too. You know, you were discussing, will they have really any backline threat with just the Camille and maybe a Kai'Sa? Well, if she gets blown up immediately by an Azir, the answer will be no.
Because the problem is, she knows who she wants to ult, but Azir says nope, and Azir and Varus are incredibly fed and farmed when it comes to actually being able to do single target damage. Guardian Angel's now there to dissuade him being a target. Diving in on Dove, he has his own disengage with his ultimate, and yes, if both Azir and Varus are hitting one person, they die in a blink of an eye.
BattleComics here on the side, trying to look for some kind of engage, or at least to deny them from going for a push. They're going to stop that wave from pushing in.
This ARAM is actually a really bad idea for MVP. They lost a lot of their Barons on split pushes, so now 1-3-1 feels worse. But you are not pushing into Azir Varus. It's not going to happen. There's no way to do it. Their range on turrets is extremely short. And the Zoe poke's not going to be enough with Joker alive. If Joker dies, that's different, as he has to ghost away here after the pillar came in behind him.
Joker definitely is, you know, there have been some mistakes, but I love how aggressive he gets in these games, just going in Rambo, that bloodthirsty support. It's a cool style. Not sure if it's the most successful, but it's definitely interesting and funny to watch.
Does feel like BattleComics are getting the new boys' little advantage here because this is triple Infernal. So remember, imagine if they got 2 Ocean Drakes, it would be such a different game. But 2 Infernals, a 3rd spawning despite their misfire around Baron. Maybe that will baby them into a Game 1 victory, as we can see that ADD doesn't even scratch Mundo when he looks for a trade.
He's still got a stopwatch. He still has his ultimate. He can chase him down. ADD's going to have to do some defensive and passive hook shots away from the Mundo as the game does go on, which does not bode well for his split push.
BattleComics push up. Seems like it will be the Banshee Veil next from Pilot, and then he can take some more aggressive spots. Maybe they can look to burst one person, but with the stopwatches and Guardian Angels, that one person remains to be determined, and we just need to see Joker take a chill pill with some of these very deep dives. Maybe everything slides into position. Speaking of positions, that Infernal we've been alluding to spawns in 30 seconds, and for now, not too much information in the area for MVP.
MVP's favorite objective is always going to be Baron. They love to start it in good times and in bad, but so far they've just had a lack of vision, a lack of map control around this Dragon. And again, BattleComics have been ahead for the majority of this game and very, very fed. So it is hard to come on in here with the 6,000 BattleComics lead. And now they're going to try here as 4 members are trying to just run in through mid, and also ADD up in the top side. Dove is going to get hit by that. There's the Kai'Sa. Really nice play to get him away, but the stopwatch only keeps him alive for 1 auto attack, and the rest of BattleComics are on the run. 2 members going to get clawed out essentially for free.
BattleComics overcomplicating the setup allowed MVP to dive through, and even though Dove was picture perfect on the disengage, the Infernal is stolen away. Baron spawns in 2 minutes. They'll be able to reset for that, but we're seeing the challenger mistakes, and we're seeing MVP make the moves they need to. The end result seems to be almost a 50-50 coin flip for how game number 1 is going to go.
Yeah, definitely a weird one, as Ian, I feel like he's playing in a tier below where he's just acquiring every single target because they don't, you know, have so much experience against Zoe. But again, these players do have experience against the Zoe, so it's not that. It just looks like Dove multiple times in a row getting hit by these paddle stars to the face, and Ian is just having a ball right now on the Zoe.
Now, Dove was so close with the ultimate into the Zonias, but crucially, Joker's, we'll see it in the replay here, but the Trouble Bubble hit Joker and just before he got into Devour range to save him. So the hit comes in from here. Joker tries to walk in, but he actually, picks up the Trouble Bubble and is in range but can't Devour. Think back to the play we saw a few days ago where Core JJ flashed over and got the headbutt pulverize in before the Trouble Bubble armed. Picking up the Trouble Bubble was the difference between the Azir living and the Azir dying.
Yeah, definitely a mistake. But that Trouble Bubble stays on the ground for so long, you got to know how long it's going to be. You have to use that flash aggressively sometimes. Ian, once again, looking for that target acquisition. The picks on the Zoe on the left side, not going to happen this time around. And now ADD is level 18, and he does have 3 items, so he is getting pretty aggressive on his split push down on the bottom side right now.
His team fights can really turn on a dime, but we haven't seen team fights. We've seen catches, we've seen picks from MVP even later than we expected to see them. The Trundle ultimate can be used on the Mundo, but he has Stopwatch to ult Stopwatch, and OnFleek has a Guardian Angel to be a pseudo tank for a while. But can they actually find a 5v5? They themselves have very limited engage. They have the press out and run at them of Olaf and Mundo, but apart from that, the Varus ultimate is pretty short range. So BattleComics took all the easy objective, mismanaged first Baron, then the final Infernal. They get maybe one more do-over, but if they lose a second Baron, I think MVP just straight up take this game.
Well, you mentioned the Baron damage. There's no vision on this right now. Trying to get in range. There's going to be the war, but it looks like late, and they're not going to get it. Actually, the smite comes out from Joker. The damage on top of the Braum, and there's that Azir getting into the front line. Actually, the Varus going to pick up 2 kills here. The rest of MVP going to be on the run. Pilot just being ran down by the Mundo. Nothing that he can do. The Baron and 3 kills. Can we make it 4? It's just going to be 3 to BattleComics as they finally get that fight.
And BattleComics this time with the Baron don't take any monkey's business about it. They just start it instantly knowing that if the fight comes to them, first target dies. They're going to push them in and they might just straight up win.
Definitely feels that way. Ian can't do it all alone. Zoe good in the 1v1, but, well, you lost 3 of your members. Trying to take out OnFleek's Guardian Angel, but even that is a dream at this point. BattleComics trying to get in there, but ADD himself nearly disappears immediately. And where did the Zoe go? The Varus and the Azir, 2-fed at BattleComics. Take game number 1.
Far from a flawless game number 1 victory by BattleComics, but where the game needed to be won, they were able to win it in the early game and buy them those extra chances. They didn't get 9 lives, they needed 2. But by the time the second Baron came around, they adjust their shot call, they go for it directly. Need to adjust the mindset of Joker, their team captain, who was a little bit too frisky on a couple of engages. But apart from that, BattleComics, you have to say, it wasn't a landslide, but they were better on the match and hitting the win conditions than MVP were.
Yep, MVP a little bit sloppy. BattleComics, their own mistakes from time to time, but that's not a good look. You don't want to have to go down into a loser's match from just 1 best-of-3 and have a chance of dropping out of LCK based off of that. It was basically only Ian getting the catches there with his Zoe, but other than that, Yondu wasn't able to show up on his Trundle. The bottom lane, you know, Pylo wasn't able to carry by himself. He just didn't really have much of a front line. And eventually, the Azir Varus Mundo just got way too out of hand.
I guess in hindsight, Camille in the jungle and a different top lane matchup might have been better. We're watching the replay here. The moment you fight on Azir and Varus' terms, you lose. Straight up. There's just nothing else you can do when it's this late into the game. And Source Solo's Pilot lets you know that level 18 Mundo, not bad at all. Didn't even need the kill secure from the Varus to pick it up. They close the game from here. Again, still issues for BattleComics. Far from flawless gameplay, but we're in the promotion tournament, no longer the World's Gauntlet or the LCK Finals, so the level of play, understandably, takes a bit of a dip.
And maybe after that game 1, they can get rid of some of those jitters here from promotions and play a cleaner game. I like their brand of League of Legends, I have to say. I like what they drafted and the way they played. Impressed me for sure. But guys, we'll be back after a break for game 2.